All right, everybody. Dan here, and it is Wednesday, Wacky Wednesday. I'm gonna be taking over for Scott tomorrow, and then Scott will hang for me on Friday. So we're just gonna switch the next couple of days because Scotty is getting a new car. So tell him what he's won, Johnny. It's a new car. Anyway, so let me get going here. S&P, Dow all doing fine. Just a little bit of a down day. I wouldn't be too concerned about anything, but I do want to suggest this. When you're looking at indexes and stuff, at least pull out to the weekly chart because if you, and certainly on our fast running stocks, if you're just looking at the daily charts, you're going to get shaken out. And also make a promise to yourself that you're going to keep some stocks, just some shares, I should say, of positions that you're selling, that you're going to hang back on some. And but this would be my caveat. The ones that you're selling because you're concerned that you're going to give away your profit, because like, oh my gosh, it's gone up a lot. I don't want to risk giving back my profit, so I'm going to go ahead and close it. That's a common thing. I probably invented that trade. I've done it many, many times in the past. It's still difficult sometimes not to, just because if you got a good one going, you get a little concerned that it's going to go back the other way and kind of leave you hanging. So you just decide, okay, I'm going to sell. And this idea of like, well, when do you sell? Well, you sell when you're happy, which I've heard said before. I don't want to sell when I'm happy. I want to sell when it's the right time to sell. And sometimes I'll be happy when I sell at a loss if it's the right time to sell. So the idea is that we don't really get a choice. We don't get a vote with respect to what a stock's going to do. All we can do is follow it. But know this, if a stock is trending, I just was off a long conference call with a couple guys at IBD, and we were talking about technicals and this and that and the other thing because of the giving a talk next week in Vegas. But anyway, I was saying how the thing about trends is they just tend to keep going, and they don't go in a straight line, like never falling at all. You can see here, you got these red boxes in a sea of green boxes that are moving up. But if you're expecting a trend to just run and run and run, you're always going to be disappointed. You're never going to be holding a stock. You're always going to be shaken out. But you just have to understand that this is, and listen to me, I'm giving you pearls here, man. This uptrend here is because institutions are buying this issue. Every so often, they're not going to buy for a couple days, but they're not all of a sudden going to sell. That's not what institutions do. And so, what you have to be mindful of is this: a trend in motion will remain in motion unless and until acted on an equal opposite force. Well, we don't tend to get these equal and opposite forces in the market very often. Typically, when the buyers are in control, they're going to stay in control. When the sellers are in control, they're going to stay in control until that magical moment when it shifts. But when it gets to tops as opposed to bottoms, it's very rare that that shift is going to happen as an event, as a one-day thing. Like, God, yesterday we were great. Now everything's gone straight to heck. That's not the way tops work. They tend to be more processes. The reason I'm saying that is that I don't think you're ever in a bad position when you're just going to assume that the prevailing trend is going to continue. The reason it's called a prevailing trend is because it's prevailing, because it continues to be a trend. So maybe I just beat this dead horse. I don't know. But I just want to emphasize to you that we have some really good stocks going. By the way, I've been getting a lot of emails from you guys, and my apologies. I really haven't had a chance to answer very many of you, but I'm glad to know that you're doing so well. I mean, we've got some monster trades going here, and I'm not just putting them out there for drill. I want you guys to be making some money on them. I want you to be making a lot of them. And also be mindful of this. Sometimes the market's not going to give us these kind of trades. So you kind of got to, as they say, make hay while the sun shines. When the market is giving us really good money making opportunities, we have to be doing that, because if we're not, then right about the time when we start to feel like, okay, well, maybe now it's time for me to start trading, right about then is when the market decides to take a rest. And now suddenly you finally decided to get in the water, but you're swimming upstream when last week or last month, everybody was swimming downstream and having a great time. So anyway, we want to be involved, but with prudence. So let's look at this stuff. Weekly chart, like what is wrong with this stock? Absolutely nothing. We got a really, really solid trade going on this, a really good trade on, excuse me, on iron. And we're in at 28.70. Now it's at 48.70. So it's not going to be too long before we have a double here. But you got to look at just the weekly chart here. Yes, it looks like it's going parabolic. It kind of is, but it's walking right along and in fact above the upper Bollinger Band. This is what strong stocks do. They bounce between the upper band and the 8-day EMA. That's just exactly what they do. So let this puppy work. Bitcoin miner, this is where it pays to be. Now, Riot is up on the day, but I don't know what happened here. I was in meetings most of the day, but something happened where this thing's jumping up here, and suddenly everybody decided it's time to start selling. So I think you got to just pay attention to the technicals. This looks like a little bit kind of a climax top. It's in a little bit of a weird place, but looks like a climax top here. So I'd be very careful about holding this for too much. I would be careful about holding it for further declines unless you are comfortable holding the stock for another 6, 7, 8% pullback before you start wondering whether you're wrong or not. So I'm not going to tell you whether to sell or not. I'm just saying that I think that just by the way this stock traded, there's certainly a risk that the stock can come down and test the 8-day EMA and maybe a little bit below that as kind of a best case scenario. So don't just get complacent with this, like, oh yeah, well, Dan said, trends in motion, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, that's great. But this is an unusual, I'll put it I'll put it that way. This is kind of an unusual day here. And it typically pays to pay attention to that. Okay, HUT, it's forming a little flag pattern here. Nothing wrong with this at all. We're up over 30% on this. Just watch the stock, baby. I've shown you where my suggested stop is. Tomorrow during the day, I'll probably go in and change a few. But for now, I'm happy with the way these are. Now, Cipher Mining, Bitcoin miner, walking right along the upper Bollinger Band. It's not even visiting the 8-day EMA. So this is working really well. We're up about 60% on this. You got to be protecting those profits. Keep raising your stops. Maybe if you get the can't help it's maybe sell a little bit of stock, but don't liquidate the position. This is a really strong stock. And yes, it could do this, but I've never really seen that. I've seen this where it just keeps going. So this is a type of trade, again, that if you ride it till it bucks you off, and this one's working really, really well. So don't get all Catholic on me and feel guilty about making money. As I always say, I have the right to make that joke because I was raised Catholic. You don't if you weren't raised Catholic. So that's all I have to say about that. So Rigetti, higher high and higher low. Now, not a great close. You could see red box closed lower than it opened. However, one thing that's not lost on me is this continues to make higher intraday highs. They're always higher, and that means that the buyers are still in charge. Same thing, higher intraday lows. But we did get we got some selling into the close. Now it's down a little bit afterwards, but so yeah, we got some selling. When you really look at this, quite a bit of selling. So this is another one that you want to watch tomorrow. But the trend is still intact, and it actually closed above this upper Bollinger Band, which 95% of the time it doesn't do that. So this is still a very strong stock, but be careful. By the way, the volume is not lost on me. Okay. Now, D-Wave looks a little bit the same, really. Still making higher high and higher low, but it did close off the high. So you want to be careful of that. Watch and see how this is doing. If you just look at the this without the aftermarket trading, you can see it's still up a bit. So I got nothing else to say on this. Most of these stocks, I'm not covering all of them. It's too many. But I would just say you got to kind of let them work. Tesla, look at the weekly chart on Tesla. Okay, this was a textbook squeeze out of 350. Sure seems to me like this can come up and test this high. I can't make sense out of why the stock is doing what it's doing. Now, I don't have to make sense out of it. All I have to do is tell you to stay long because it's making money, and it is. So do that. We're up not a lot, up about 12% or so, but it's better than being down 6. Now, Pony. Nice squeeze coming out of a squeeze. This is another one where it's the stock is working, but we didn't get a great entry here at 21.96. So even though this looks like a real strong move, I don't have I don't see the stock. I don't see the stock really working here, at least right now. I kind of screwed up what I just said. Let me just start again. Like we're in here at 1660, and we did get stopped out back here, and so I guess if you want to say it this way, we're officially quote out of this trade. I have mentioned though that the trade's still going. This is some pretty formidable. It's just kind of real chunky resistance right around here, but you can't argue with this volatility squeeze. This is a pretty solid squeeze on high volume. We got a continuation here on this. So there is institutional buying here. If you're long this stock, I would stay long because when stocks just continue to run along the upper Bollinger Band, that's a mathematical thing. They tend to continue to go higher. So as long as that's what we're getting here, just stick with it. Okay. Sorry, I keep clearing my throat. I got some kind of bug going. Meta. Okay, if you've been looking for a time where you could enter this stock at a low risk place, this would be it because it's back to the 50. It's a sleepy stock now. As I always say, you never want to bet against a sociopath. But the capitalization is so massive that it's not going to be the type of stock that's going to outperform the market. Still working, it's still moving higher. It beats the heck out of Microsoft, but it's still moving higher. But if you've been looking for an opportunity to buy Meta, you didn't want to buy it too high, then this is your opportunity. And then you just put a pretty tight stop. I'd say like just right under the 50-day moving average. Okay, a couple more. JP Morgan is still working. This is a slow mover, guys, but it's kind of the best of the bunch. You look at Bank of America, you look at Goldman Sachs, you look at Morgan Stanley. These things were kind of down today when JP Morgan is up a bit. This is one of the sleepy ones. You're not going to make a lot of money if you got a big position in this. You're just not. But the trade's working. AppLovin, I'd mentioned you might want to take some off the table here. Just watch this along the 8-day exponential moving average. All right. Now, 3 that we're not going to look at for a while. Tempus stopped out of that a couple days ago. Rocket Lab. That's a trade. I'd mentioned this yesterday. It's like it never really worked. I looked at, okay, this breakout's going to go. It said no, and so now we're out of this. I don't want you being in this stock when it's still in congestion. We don't buy stocks to sit in a congestion area. We buy stocks when we think they're coming out of them. And so that's what I thought, and I thought wrong. Hinge, out of that one. This was, let's see, the entry on this was 60.50. The stop was 58.40. And so this was a very small loss, $2.10, not a big loss at all. And so this is off the list as well. So, okay, guys, that's all I got for you. That's all I got to say. Look, the markets, it feels a little bit heavy. It just feels a little bit heavy now. So just be aware of that. I've been looking at a few stocks here and there to maybe buy, but I don't see it. One of the things that you want to always be taking into account when you're looking at entering stock, when you're looking at putting money to work, is what is the overall tenor of the market? That's like the M in my SMART process, like the second one. How's the market? You don't want to be getting aggressive when the market's heavy. You don't want to be playing defense and not putting any money to work when the market's strong. You want to be on offense. There's plenty of time to play defense, but this is a time to be playing offense. Okay. So, all right. That's all I got for you guys. I will see you mañana.